Listeners, episode 20, the Big 2-0. This is BH Home Inspections. Brandon Hedgecock is with me, the man, the myth, the legend, my personal all-star home inspector. If you'll know about anything regarding homes, preventative maintenance, when to have inspections, what type of inspections to have, how to make sure that your home and your asset are protected for the life of the property as long as you own it. This episode's for you. Can't wait for you to listen, and we learned so much today. As always, thanks for listening. Check it out.
We've got all these people moving from cities into our town. I can probably be a millionaire in just a few days' time.
Wow, wait!
Now, whatever you do, don't tell anybody. If anyone else finds out about this, they'll all want to be real estate agents, too.
What do you think when you hear the words real estate? Well, welcome to the Market Shakers Podcast, a real estate podcast of Matt Kelly and friends, where we are committed to explore exactly what real estate should mean to you.
And we are back. Episode 20, the Big 2-0, bicentennial. I don't know other ways you can say venti. What's 20 in French? Anybody know?
No.
20. I forgot it in German. I have no clue anymore. I just have to come to me. Anyways, folks, right here, right across from me, absolutely massive key to my business. Been doing the home inspection thing for years and years. Avid Oklahoma Sooner, which there have been better days.
Definitely better days.
From Wyoming, used to do the oil thing back in the day, oil and mining.
Yeah, family did, and I did a little bit during the summers. Laid some casing to make a little bit of money in the summers, and vacation time in the wintertime, make good money.
Yeah.
Tough work.
Brandon Hedgecock, everybody, BH Home Inspections.
Oh, yeah.
If you have worked with us, you will know him very well, very, very well. Brandon, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Doing fine. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, I'm pumped. I've been wanting to get you on here for a while. You're absolutely incredibly important aspect and a necessary aspect of the home buying process, the property purchasing process. So who are you? Where are you from? How long you been doing this? And why should people be listening to you today?
Well, my name is Brandon Hedgecock, owner of BH Home Inspection. I've been in business since really started the business around 2017. Got into business early 2018, so about 5.5 years now or so. Grew up in Wyoming, from Oklahoma, hence the Oklahoma Sooners, following them. And welcome to the SEC.
Welcome to the SEC.
But growing up in Wyoming, I started in business in the mining industry, which is heavy in our area. So I've been around mining, manufacturing, doing inspections of facilities and things as a plant manager and other positions most of my life. So after about 20 years in the industry and moving around the country, finally landing in Evans, I was working at a facility in South Carolina, Langley, facility there. And after 20 years, I kind of had a coming to Jesus meeting with myself and said, hey, is this what I want to do for the remainder of my career? And it was kind of a outstanding no. You know, it was just rough, a lot of work all the time, stress, everything else. So I said, I've always wanted to start my own business. And in this area, I just started following some things, looking around, talking to different realtors and things like that. The real estate market in 2018 looked like it was on the climb. Things looked good around here, military base. So I wanted to get involved in something in real estate. I initially looked at actually something like you're doing, but it just didn't fit who I was as a person. I didn't think. I had a good background, like I said, in inspections of facilities. I had to do walkthroughs of our facilities every single day, looking for certain items and everything. So it just kind of made sense for me to stay in that kind of arena. But I wanted to be attached to real estate because I think real estate is where the money's at, the investing is at. I think that's where you should best put some of your money, other than just stock market.
Okay.
So I chose home inspections. I just looked into it, took a good year off, and kind of just studied and decided what I really wanted to do, and then hit the ground running. First year was tough.
Getting into, and you've been in business for how long?
since 2018 early.
That's right.
April, I think
Okay.
April was my the date.
I guess the better question
April.
here, 'cause you just said that. I think the question I was really going for is, experience wise, how many homes have you done at this point? Do you have any clue?
Oh, probably averaging between 250 to 300 homes a year.
Okay.
First year, nowhere near that. First year was going to open houses, handing pamphlets and information to every realtor in the world that had no clue who I was, because I don't know anyone here. I would go to work every day, come home, and I just didn't know any of the locals.
Right.
So it was a really tough start at first, almost to the point where probably about 3/4 through 2018, I was like, wait a second, I need to go back to what I used to do.
Wow.
It was
It's
a rough.
close.
It was a little rough, yeah. But I knew that.
What was the what kind of kept you in? What were you thinking about? What was going through your head?
Just that goal, when I was a young kid, of wanting to run my own business, seeing those business leaders in our community growing up and everything else, thinking that they were the rich and famous and had all the money and everything else. And not always true, but it made me look at what was out there, what I wanted to attain. And I just kept saying, this is my business. This is my name. My initials on this business. I can't stop,
Serious.
at least not within a year. I mean, come on. Most business owners, they'll make it, some don't make it through the first year. Same with real estate. If you make it past that 3-year mark, they say that, you're there. But
You're there. Well,
it's not always true. It's still a work in progress.
you never quite feel safe. That's
No.
kind of what drives you every single day is don't as soon as you start feeling safe, there's some danger at your door right there.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Most definitely, yeah. You need to continue learning, continue doing things like this, things out of your comfort zone. At my age, 49, I kind of have cutting back a little bit, taking some weekends off, blocking out some afternoons and things, but I still say yes.
Well, I appreciate. I'll be seeing you on Sunday, I think.
Yeah.
we have a subfloor issue we're going to be fixing. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I can't wait. I like doing those things. I like helping out. I like fixing things.
You do.
That's what makes my job kind of hard is finding problems and issues all the time when you're a person that likes to fix them.
Yeah. I don't know if Angelica's watching. We know she's not watching. He'll be over on Sunday. We're fixing the kitchen floor, babe. Thank you. Anyways,
It will be good. Yes,
it's going to be
right?
very good.
Or fun, entertaining.
It's going to be something. I'm excited. I'm going to learn a lot. I'm really pumped. Learn a new little skill here. So thank you.
Yeah.
So you're licensed in Georgia, South Carolina.
No licensing in Georgia.
No licensing.
There's no Georgia licensing board for home inspectors. It was
Really?
started at one time. I think they have information out there, but unfortunately in Georgia, it's not a requirement. It's not always a bad thing.
Okay.
It does mean that you can get some people that can start a business fairly quickly and just go out there and pretend to do things.
Just a scary thought.
But, those are the people that usually don't last long. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the case in Georgia. In South Carolina, definitely a licensed state, and I have my license there.
I wonder what the thought process, why. You said there was one, it got dissolved or just didn't really quite pan out.
Yeah, I don't know the reason exactly behind it. I've just heard some different stories, read some different things, is that they had started, looked into it. There's some groundwork. There's some things there. Just no one wanted to take the ball and run with it.
Wow.
Just like anything, when you get up to that level, government involved and things like that, you got to have complete buy-in and someone that wants to run with it.
Yeah, that's just it's very it's an incredibly important job. You carry a very, very heavy load of just responsibility and not only responsibility, liability, but trust too.
Most definitely, yeah.
Trust. People are trusting you to be thorough with your evaluation of a 100, 200, 300, $1 million, $2 million piece of property. That's a massive, massive undertaking. That is once again the largest transaction that 90% of Americans will ever see. Probably 95, 98% more likely.
Yeah.
And you're a huge part of that.
Yeah, it's daunting for sure.
So your industrial inspection background, what you're doing that for years and years and years. How did that? What parts of that translated into how you conduct your inspections now for residential properties?
I mean, we had details ways of how we did those things. You know, we had preventative maintenance on parts, equipment, and everything else. So knowing those things, when I would go through and do these inspections, there were certain checklists and things that I would have to look for. Safety. You know, safety is a huge thing, especially even in a home inspection. You know, you want a house that's safe. You want it to be mechanically sound as well, but safety is a huge one for sure. But yeah, so going through those things, I was programmed from an early age on that this is how I went about doing my job. You know, it's written down. There's a process, a procedure, and that's how I like to follow through on my home inspections. I have a detailed inspection software that
love Home Gauge. Love Home Gauge. It's probably one of my favorite things.
And there's some other good ones out there as well. Home Gauge is great. What I liked about it is it could be customized to the way that I wanted it. So over the years, I've made some changes, listened to realtors, listened to clients, things like that, and made some changes. But yeah, early on, I started, you know, we had building trades and stuff in high school. So we got to build 2 houses in high school. I've always loved to work on things. My dad was a heavy diesel mechanic and head mechanic for a large coal mine. So all my life, I've either been working on cars, I like building, helping friends, things like that, working with my hands. So I like to see how things work. And that usually translates into someone, if you know how something works, you can usually figure out what's going wrong with it when you see it. Not always the case in a home, but as a home inspector, you know, Matt, that's not exactly our job, is to find out why.
Right.
I like to do that. I want to know why. You know, if you have a leak in a wall.
You typically can already, just from your experience, know the why, and that helps.
But, you know, it's one of those misconceptions with home inspectors. It's really, we're there to point out this is not right. Hire this guy to come fix this.
Yes.
That kind of
Correct.
thing. So, yes, you could get away with just doing this home inspection, pointing out issues throughout the house and not saying anything about it other than contractor A or B, electrician, whatever, plumber needs to fix this. But, you know, I like to try to go into a little more detail, and I'd like to be able to tell a client or the seller on a pre-listing inspection, here's what's going on. You know, maybe not put that on a piece of paper, but have that conversation with them to say, here's what should be done. Here's what's happening.
It's scary what, you know, there's a, you know, right, you put on paper versus verbal. Right. And what that can do. And I feel like a lot of times people have a hard understanding of when you put something out on paper, you know, that can come back to you. When you tell them verbally, it still can, but maybe it's a little more difficult. But there are just some things you just cannot put on paper as a home inspector, because you just don't have all the answers sometimes. You just don't have all the answers. And you're not qualified to have those answers, right?
Correct.
You can lend your experience to it, but it's also not going to be fair to the customer, to the client, to put some things on paper.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to lead a client on and pretend that you are something you're not. There are home inspectors out there that probably have HVAC, you know, degrees, et cetera, that they can expand on those things. But, you know, I'm definitely more of a generalist. I have a good understanding of all the different processes and parts of a home. I wouldn't say I excel in any area, but me personally, I believe that makes me a good home inspector to give you a general condition of a home, which is what I'm supposed to do. You need to go away by looking at this report and saying, if you wanted to rate a home, where would this be? You know, how, you know, you want to go away from that inspection knowing that this home is acceptable for you.
Correct.
But each person's different. I mean, as we know, you know.
We know.
Yeah, we know. You know, every client's different. You know, some are. Yeah, we don't need to go into it, but everyone's different. Some, you know, little problems here and there. I write up 40 different kind of minor things. Not a big deal to someone. You know? Then that next person, they see that one thing where the doorknob's loose and they think the sky's falling.
Yes.
But that is what it is, and you need to be able to work around that, because that's your client and they're looking for something that's going to work for them. And that's definitely where you come in, and along with information from me and other contractors that you or they hire can make them informed decision.
And I'll tell you, you know, one of the things that that has allowed me to really have confidence in you as a home inspector in your craft is definitely going to be, you know, how thorough you are. Without a doubt, you know, there's a saying, ignorance is bliss. And by God, that is the last thing I want to do when we close on a property is have problems afterwards. Nobody wants that. And, unfortunately, there are just, there's a lot of reputable home inspection companies. But what I don't believe in is somebody who may be getting paid just a small amount, $1 per hour, to come run through a home. Because what incentivizes that person to make sure that everything, has been, what's the incentive there, right? Yes, if problems do arise, those companies are more than well equipped to deal with those problems, and they will deal with them because they're good companies. But I don't want to have to deal with those problems after I close the home. I want to focus on making the home my home.
Yeah.
So I've always appreciated how thorough you are, even if sometimes it's scary. It's a scary thing, but once again, ignorance is bliss. I don't think that's how you should go about purchasing a home. And I much rather, as far as a negotiation tool, a client relationship tool, how that client views me, views anybody that they've worked with, you, after the home closes, is a massive deal. It's a massive deal. So I think that's one thing I could say is the biggest benefit for your company is how thorough you are.
I really appreciate that. We have a standards of practice that we follow industry wide, more or less. Some states are different with state licensing and things, but you could just stick to that standards of practice within it, and you could get these really simple, short reports. It's not what I want personally. If someone inspects my home, I want them to be as detailed as they possibly can in the amount of time that we've allotted. And, me personally, I understand that, there's a lot that goes into a house. And if you want everything found, every little issue, it's not realistic, especially in a 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour time window. You give a home inspector, 6-10 hours, something like that. Maybe possibly you're going to see a lot more, but that's just not the way that.
What's the longest inspection you've ever been on? Bringing up flashbacks.
On a residential home, probably 7 to 10 hours, somewhere in that
Holy
range.
cow! Large home with a lot of problems.
No, large old home.
Old home.
Yeah, yeah. There was one. I think it was supposedly around 1760.
Okay.
Supposedly somewhere here in Augusta. I won't say addresses and things, but that one definitely took a long time.
Wow.
Commercial properties, things like that, multi-unit homes are going to take a lot longer. I've had some that I've done within 2-3 days, but residential properties, most of the time you're between 3 and 5 hours. I would say if you averaged it out, most homes between 1,000 to 3,000 square feet or up to 4,000 square feet are going to be around a 3 hour time frame. Me personally, I will not spend less than 2.5 hours on any property, no matter what size.
Okay.
It's just
can't do it.
Just not going to happen. I mean, it takes me, and I hear of stories of, clients that have had, in other cities, states, et cetera, where they've had this person that was in and out in 45 minutes to an hour. It makes zero sense to me. Ooh. And that's what I respect about you as a realtor that refers me and some others that refer me, is they understand that and they want it to take as long as you need instead of wanting you in and out just to push a sell. And I'm not saying that's the case, but obviously there's people out there like that, unfortunately.
We have a Brandon talk in our onboarding, right? Have I talked to you about that? The Brandon talk? We have a Brandon talk. We had to make sure we bring up to every single buyer. Say, hey, look, this is our home inspector. And we had talked about it a little bit a second ago. Just, this is what we could do. Or we're going to bring in our guy. And our guy is very thorough. And he's going to find a ton of things. If your doorknob has a loose screw, you will know about it. And it may be scary. But it's better to know. It's more information from a negotiation standpoint, from a just an awareness standpoint, decision-making standpoint. A lot more things can be done with more knowledge. And so we have that talk with everybody. It's a good talk, and it's a talk we're happy to have. So I can't remember. I always forgot. I think I mean to bring it up, but then we start talking about Oklahoma football, and I start dogging on you about how the Georgia Bulldogs are just a fundamentally better team these days, and we're.
Well, probably got a lot of Georgia audience here, so I'll just hang out over here and we'll wait till season and see what happens. But yeah.
Oh man,
I get enough of it from all the Georgia and Alabama fans around this area. So, and a story, when Oklahoma beat Tennessee not too long ago, I cut a big OU in my front lawn. Huge.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All my neighbors love that. Sorry, it's not a fun thing for the neighborhood, but I had to at least show that to the SEC.
Any letters from the HOA? No, they just let you ride with it. You beat Tennessee. It probably gave you some good graces.
Yeah. The wife wasn't very happy, but I probably wouldn't do it again.
She wasn't very happy at all.
No, and it was kind of just one of those things. You're just out there going, why not?
Is she a Sooner? What was she pull for?
University of North Carolina. She graduated. Okay. She's a Tar Heel.
Okay. They ever played each other? Have they?
I don't think so. Maybe in basketball.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, she's thinks she goes to the real Carolina.
Okay.
South Carolina folks will say something different, but yeah, that's the Carolina.
Kakalaki. South Kakalaki, North Kakalaki. I don't know. Those two states are crazy. Okay, so home inspections, etiquette, things like that. Do you, as a person selling a home, does it make a difference if the seller is there while you're inspecting? As a person buying a home who's hiring you, do you think there's, what are the pros and cons of a person being there at the home inspection?
Okay. Well, first,
being there at the home inspection.
I'll be honest. I don't want anyone there.
Okay.
And it's not because I can do whatever I want. It's just I can concentrate.
Okay.
I can pay attention to my process, and I don't have any of these things going on. Someone asking me a question, pulling me away from something. When I should have been looking over here, I start looking over here, and I walk past something. Who knows?
Okay.
But I don't have an issue. Me personally, I've had buyers, their entire families there with the sellers and their family and dogs and pets and everything else. It's not a big deal. It's how you handle the situation. You just have to have that conversation sometimes with someone that you don't want to have, and just say, hey, I need to focus on this. I'm more than happy to have you follow me around and things. Please hold some questions, but if you see something, don't be afraid to come up and talk to me. It's your inspection. Whether it's a pre-listing inspection, you're selling your house and I'm doing the inspection, or you're a buyer. It's your inspection. It's yours. So if you completely want to pull me away and focus me in other areas, I'll do what I need to do, but we'll have a conversation too, saying that, I have a allotted amount of time really. And it's not exactly 3 hours, but some days I have 2 inspections a day, and I allot about an hour time frame in between for drive time, etc. So sometimes, yes, it can be a hard stop, but if that's the case and there's something that, we didn't get to, we'll schedule. I'll come back.
Yes.
Whatever we need to do.
And speaking of coming back, one of the other services you offer is a reinspection.
Yes.
It's always a good thing. It can lead to some interesting situations, depending on, when it's scheduled and how much work has been done thoroughly and when
lack thereof.
Yeah, that's always a fun one.
Yeah.
That's when the questions really start flying.
Yes.
So re-inspections, when would you recommend having one? Would you ever recommend not having one?
No, I mean, I think they're necessary. Personally, I don't like doing them, and it's just because of experience, past experiences. I would say probably over 50% of the re-inspections I go to, when things are said to be done, they're not done. And I'm not just saying done incorrectly; they're just not done.
Not done.
And the communication is missing. That's the biggest key to a lot of these things, especially on new builds and everything else as well, is the communication. So I'll get there, and it just feels like sometimes I waste my time and I waste my client's time. And then, hey, I need to come back. Well, who's going to pay for that, for one thing?
Right.
But, I don't want to charge my clients because it's not their fault. It's the fault of who communicated in the first place. But so a lot of times I'll go back and just do those. I'll find time as long as it works around my schedule. But overall, I think they're a good thing. Especially if you're a client that doesn't have knowledge of how things are to be repaired and things like that. In some cases, is it necessary if you ask for 5 items? Not necessarily. You can ask for the paperwork of the qualified contractor that did the work, and have them send you a photo showing the repair, potentially. But when you get upwards of, you're asking for 30 items and some are major that are very high dollar amounts. Yeah, you want to get a
very
a
common
set of eyes
too.
on- Yeah,
And more common than you think. Don't be scared to ask for repairs.
yeah.
So
But
see it all the time.
If I were to tell, my daughter buying a house, should you have a re-inspection of those repairs? I'd say yes, definitely 100%.
I love it. Love it. Repairs and stuff, inspections and stuff cost. What kind of cost as a new home buyer should I expect for a home inspection?
Anywhere from, typical range is going to be $350 to $450 range for most homes, residential homes
Yep,
around here. And, I'll give a $20 discount to military, veterans, first responders, and teachers. And I've been known to, if you just cry to me on the phone or say something nice, or I enjoy the conversation, to give you a discount as well.
Cut.
Yeah, right.
Come on, Brandon, bad for business.
No, it's my discretion, right, as a business owner. But, you get some people that are kind of in that gray area of first responder, they might be a doctor, nurse. Yeah, that falls in. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you. So I've been talking for like 3 hours straight today. And have a few
Isn't that
yawns.
normal?
It's normal.
Okay.
Usually. So we got 350 depending, and it scales with you have different. I know you have different, 1,000 to 2,000, 2,000 to 3,000. Depends on the house. Outbuildings. So you do inspections for outbuildings as well.
I will. If there's an outbuilding on the property that's, say, just a shed or something like that, it's not included in the general home inspection, but I'll usually just do a visual walk around, and if I see something just outstanding, it's going to go in the report. But other than that, it's going to have a little disclaimer saying that it wasn't inspected. If it's a outbuilding that has power, anything like that, there's going to be a cost associated with inspecting that, just like it would be a home, which is not going to be as much as the main property itself. But yeah, I'll do those things. And anything on the property, some people seem to think I look at all the trees on the property and all these other things and look for termites in those trees at the very back of the property. If I see something, I'm can't unsee it, and I'm going to say something about it. But no, I don't go out of my way just looking at those things. My focus is going to be on your property and the surrounding area of your property and what could negatively affect your purchase.
What's some of the? Give us some good. I bet you got some good stories. Give me some good stories. What's some of the wildest things you've seen at a house?
I knew you were going to ask, because there's just so many different things. But one home, it was a 3-level townhome property. Went there, power's supposed to be on, everything else. I get there, and there's no one to let me in. Then they finally got someone there to let me in. No power, nothing else going on to go in the house. And I mean, it's a complete outside. You would think everything was perfectly fine. Go inside. I mean, it was to the point where I went in and I started looking around with my flashlight and things, and I turned right back around, got my half respirator, put on my jumpsuit, Tyvek suit, everything else. When I opened up the kitchen, little swinging doors, I opened them up and I heard what sounded like popcorn. That's how I tell it, at least. And it was just roaches, just pop, little tiny ones all over the place, popping all around. You just see all kinds of things. In that same house, the upstairs toilet, I had to actually jump across the area of the subfloor because it was completely rotted out from the toilet just leaking for so many years.
What was the age of the structure?
Not very old.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it may have been late 80s, early 90s.
Wow.
But, I've seen a bunch of funny things and things like that as well. But unfortunately, you're going to see properties like that, and I know you've seen them. It's sad. It's sad sometimes, and sometimes it's just people just don't take care of things. But and the funny thing is, the person purchased the property. They were willing to put the money and investment and time into it. It was worth it to them.
Wow, maybe the homeowner, the property owner, was maybe have known there was a few things that probably had to be addressed on the property.
Yeah,
priced correct accordingly, and lo and behold, gets it sold. Wow. Okay.
But those are few and far between like that. You'll find some interesting things. I've found some roof penetrations, like a plumbing vent that had a solar light stuck down in it. One of your landscape solar lights.
Wow.
Yeah, just you see some really weird things, and people hiding stuff. But it's common. But overall, I'd say you don't see those horror stories. But the funny things or the weird things, I see something almost every single day that it's just they don't stay in my memory anymore. It's just so many of them.
Do you prefer the uniformity of a newer kind of a newer neighborhood, newer build kind of thing, or do you kind of find the older, more unique homes enjoyable?
Both.
Okay.
I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but I like weeks where I have new build homes or newer homes because some weeks I need that. I'm a little worn out. Then there's weeks or 2 weeks, 3 weeks in a row where I have these very, very old homes that haven't been taken care of, that have the most horrible crawl spaces you've ever seen in your life. And by when Friday comes around, I'm just like, what am I doing? This is just crazy. It's too much. It's demanding. It's it's not just mentally stressful. It's physically stressful.
If you can even get inside the crawl space because the hole is so dang small.
Yeah. But
a robot now.
But unfortunately, if people look at me, they know that I can fit. So the way I see it is that it's an excuse, even if the opening doesn't meet the required standard size opening, if I can fit, I go.
You're good.
It's just I couldn't live with it. I couldn't tell a client, hey, I couldn't go in there just because it's a small opening. If I fit, I go. Perfect. And that's probably been bad for me sometimes too. On my body.
Imagine you just wiggling, just kind of just shimmying through.
Yeah. Well, I've had some where floor joists were about touching my nose, and clients walking around the house up there and floor flexing. And you're like, yeah, maybe this is a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh, wow. They're flexing that much. People are walking around upstairs.
Yeah. I wouldn't say anything that overly scary, but if you're claustrophobic and things like that, it might be an issue.
How do you get around it? Because I know sometimes I've looked at it and it's like the big duct work. It kind of creates this like barrier eventually. Have you ever just had to crawl under and over pipes and things?
Some, yeah, and a lot of people do that. You can see that in spaces where some of the ductwork is smashed in and stuff. But a lot of times what people do that go in there before me is they've dug down underneath them little areas, little tiny little crawl areas underneath them that I can fit through. But
that's kind of cool.
I'm not going to damage anything down there, so if I can't get to that area, it's going to be written up in the report. Sorry, I'll take a picture and zoom in the best I can to all those areas. I have a tool now that I can get to all those areas as well. I have a crawl space robot, with a 360 or not 360 camera, but a high definition camera, video, take pictures, things like that. And it haven't found an area really that it can't go into. There's some things that might be blocking that it can't go over as an obstacle, but it definitely goes to places that I couldn't get before.
So you're having your home inspection. I'm a home buyer. Okay. Picture me as a home buyer. Always a home buyer trying to find more properties to invest in right now. Quick plug. But I'm buying a home. I call you, I hire you. You go through a house. What are some, in your opinion, assuming the seller is not going to fix these things, and we're throwing out the price, we're throwing all that, we just a home. What are some of your personal like big no-nos?
I look at things a lot differently than a lot of people. I'll say this to clients because a lot of times they'll ask me,
and this is very opinion based.
Yeah.
This is very opinion based, listeners. Every client has their own need, and just because Brandon may have this opinion doesn't mean that your opinion is not invalidated or wrong. But from a home compared to its neighbor's house.
Well, there's two things that would stand out always is the cost. High dollar items. That's going to affect a lot of buyers. Some. Not all, and safety issues for sure. But I would say any of the large mechanical items, HVAC systems that are well past their life expectancy or not working properly, that's huge, huge to me. Water heaters starting to get up there in a little price as well could be an issue. Older, outdated electrical systems that are safety hazards.
Stab lock boxes.
Yeah.
Federal Pacific.
Yep, you know the names of those.
Oh, man, I do.
And they can not present any issues at the time and look perfectly fine and been working for 50, 75 years. But there's that potential for issues. But my focus, what I tell most home buyers is the focus, at least to even me as a homeowner, is the exterior of your home.
Okay.
With the weather we have, the rain, things like that, focus on making sure the outside stays outside. Because if you have a house that doesn't have a solid roof, that's going to be a huge cost to you, but also, you're not going to protect your investment inside. But a lot of people want to look at the niceties and the little creature comforts inside the home and not focus on their outside. And that's what I see when I do home inspections a lot, where people are focusing their maintenance and different things on the interior and not the exterior.
Mm-hmm.
Exterior grading, not allowing proper slope of the grading to get water away from your home. Water is destructive. We all need it, but we want it away from our house and not necessarily in it. And if it's in it, we want it controlled.
Through a nice PEX plumbing pipe.
Yeah.
If possible.
And there's definitely some outdated plumbing systems out there as well that have some different recalls and things on older homes.
Okay. Yep.
Asbestos issues, things like that. But I want clients to know as well, I can look at something and say that it may have asbestos.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the material, but the only way to know these things is have testing done.
Yep.
And sometimes people seem to think that we can just say what it is. And as a home inspector, we're going to have to put in there, it needs to be tested to know for sure.
It's expensive to get tested too. It's like $600 sometimes for just a couple little pokes and prods.
But
we should start that company up, asbestos testing.
Okay, let's go.
I think they have to send these things out to like Texas or something to get them done. It's crazy.
Okay, we can do that.
We need to find some scientists.
And we can do lead-based paint testing as well. We can get a nice XRF machine. It's going to be a little investment.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go.
I don't got any money. You got the money? I don't got any money.
Investors.
Yes. Anybody here? Maybe someone in that tower over there. I don't think there's actually anyone in there, so maybe not. The Lamar building.
That one window
one
looks
day,
open.
One day to dream. That one window does. Yeah. What are the problems of the Lamar building over here that you can see visually from I don't even know, like a half a mile away?
It's beautiful.
Probably some stains, some loss of seal in the windows. Yeah. Clearly.
But yeah, those things. There's a lot of potential. Older homes are great. They're awesome. You have one.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful. I love to inspect them. They're interesting, time consuming to inspect.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of hidden things, a lot of things that you can potentially miss.
Mm-hmm.
But those things, when you talk about lead-based paint, asbestos, stuff like that, some of the asbestos materials in tile, wall cladding on the exterior of homes, it really was a great material for its time, but unfortunately, someone found some bad issues with it. And
outside of asbestos siding, and I might, my viewpoint has always been like, it's great, it's actually perfect, it's the best stuff ever until you have to touch it.
Yeah,
until you got to touch it.
If it becomes friable, there's that potential.
Yep.
But as anything that's found by EPA or whoever else it is out there, governing body that says it can cause cancer or this and that, it needs to be, you need to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
But, just having that type of siding on your house left alone is not a health concern.
Talk about, you just alluded to it a little bit, but, what are the, homeowners themselves, when you're going to inspect these homes, like what are some good like home maintenance things that you just see neglected, pretty regularly? What are some things that homeowners need to be doing a better job of?
Well, on your exterior and everything else, caulking, around windows, around openings, things like that. A lot of people just don't do that. You go to a house and see cracked, missing caulking. It doesn't seem like a big issue. Looking at it, but you can have water intrusion, you have energy inefficiencies, things like that as well. All the routine maintenance on your like HVAC equipment, very simple things that even homeowners can do as far as cleaning your condensing and evaporator coils, cleaning out your condensate drain line so you don't have that overflow into your attic, into your house, which I see way too often. Yep. A very simple thing to rectify and take care of, even on your own.
I thought we just heard that on the last recording. Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's probably one of the most, as soon as I see a stain in an area on a ceiling and it's near attic access or anything like that, I'm like,
I bet you see that all the time in Grovetown. And in the attics where all the water heaters are in Evans and Columbia County, where they built those homes and they put the water heaters in the attic, or the HVACs in the attic.
Yep. I had a home, my first home I purchased actually had a water heater in the attic as well. And they actually put it up there before they put in the drop down ladder access. So when it actually died, I couldn't get it down. I had to take it apart in pieces because it wouldn't fit. But yeah, it's not a wise idea to have those things up there. But if you do, do the proper things to control the potential of damage from a water leak. So if you have a water heater up there, have a properly sized pan with a drain that goes to the exterior, and also keep that drain clean it out on a regular basis. Your air handler up there with your condensate drain, pretty much only takes one time a year to flush and clean that out. Or hire the professionals, right? I know money's no object to some people, but if you're the one that is trying to pinch your pennies and don't have the money, there's some very simple things that you can.
Yeah, how do you clean out your condensate line if I just wanted to go to Lowe's or Home Depot?
I mean, there's several different recommended ways. What I do is I take I actually just take some hot tap water, a couple gallons, and I'll take some vinegar, maybe a little bit of bleach, and I'll just flush it down the line. Okay. Ask my wife to go outside, and I'll flush it down, and she'll just make sure everything's coming out and looking good.
Okay.
But then, when it's running during the cooling season, just go out and look at those things. Go out and make sure you have condensate coming out of those drain lines. If you don't see anything dripping out, you got a problem. And there's a lot of things to pay attention to. If it's raining really heavy, like the other day, I went up in my house into the attic when it was storming, high winds, everything else. Went around with my flashlight, looked around. Made sure I didn't see anything. It's a very simple thing to do. Go outside, make sure during the rain, put on your raincoat. It's not a big deal. You're not going to melt. Go around, walk around your house, and make sure your gutters and downspouts are clear and water's draining away from your property.
We had a pretty good opportunity to do so the other day. I think a big old rainstorm came out. That rainstorm was like the entire East Coast. It was crazy. Yeah. I think it was huge. We had a opportunity to go clean my gutters out. That's a fun one.
Yeah, and it can be dangerous. Anytime you're on a ladder.
Lots of weight up on that ladder. I get worried. I was trying to figure out how to. So I was trying to figure the right angle to put the ladder up against the gutter, because I was like, I gotta figure out. This feels like it's too much weight on there. So I was almost like this, just because I was too scared to bend or break anything. So I'm sitting here like almost 90 degrees to the perpendicular to the ground, kind of sitting here going, this is...
You didn't get on the internet and look at ladder safety and how to set up your ladder?
No, I'm a bull in a china shop. I just get in there, It's got to get in there, and I'll figure the rest out later. It's how it can get. That's how it goes.
Next time you do that, tell your neighbors that you're doing it.
Okay.
Just because if they see you on the ground, they can at least call.
My wife will be on the phone with the life insurance company going, guess what happened? We're good.
Well, maybe your watch has that fall protection thing.
Who knows? It might.
Mine does. So, but it's not going to do any good.
Okay. So home,
for you at least.
Yeah, home maintenance. You got your gutters. One of those things is getting the leaves out, because if you don't get your leaves out, it can bend the gutter a little bit, and you have the little pools of water, and that creates its own problem over and over.
Yeah, it can overflow, and it actually will create more water at your foundation, or it can backflow over the side, and it can cause fascia issues. So, gutters are great, but if you don't clean them out and let them work the way they're intended, they cause sometimes worse problems.
What is one of your favorite preventative maintenance installations you can do on a house? That's something to think about.
I stick to drainage all the time. So I would say, a really good drainage system where your gutters and downspouts drain to an underground drainage system with French drains along the side of the property. And that doesn't go for every property, but I would say the majority of properties here in Georgia have some sort of drainage issues, some sort. And I'm not talking about the ones out further away from your house, around your driveway and this and that. I'm talking about the ones that would be near your house and near your foundation. So those, I don't necessarily, it's a preventative thing, but that can be a little costly to do that. But in the long run, I think it'll save you. But the little simple things in your home, of using things, you know, open and shut windows, you know, if you don't use them, you know, they can seize up, things like that. Go around, check your windows every, you know, 3-5 years, somewhere in there, check the caulking, make sure it's not cracked.
Okay.
You know, I find lots and lots of doorknobs in houses that are just when I'm doing a 1-year inspection where doorknobs are completely loose and your faucet handles are completely loose. Well, it doesn't seem like a big issue, but it's going to get worse. And then it gets to a point where it breaks.
Right.
And so it's a very simple thing. It's just, you know, screws should be tight.
Yep.
And that's it. Go around and just check those things.
Oh, I got a whole laundry list in my head now. I got to go do.
Very, very simple.
In my own house.
Very simple things. You know, changing your filters is a very big thing, of course. You know, some people say get the little cheap ones, change them every month. That's fine. That's great. You know, I do the every 3 months, but I think as a system ages, you know, maybe go to a less restrictive filter and change it more often. But I'll leave that up to the HVAC folks and some of the people you may have on this podcast to tell you the way it's exactly supposed to be done. I do what works for me at my house, and I don't necessarily make those recommendations to clients, but I definitely see dirty filters all the time, and I know what that does.
What's your, from a personal, you have a property, you have a home. What's, you know, as a homeowner, what's your most favorite and least favorite thing to do on your own home? Say rewarding. What's most rewarding and least rewarding?
Painting is least
Okay.
by far. I don't have the patience.
Okay.
Most rewarding for me is anything. I look for things to do. I want to improve everything. So
That doesn't surprise me a single bit.
yeah. So on the weekends, if I'm off, I'm looking for something to improve.
Okay.
You know, and I'm always learning. So if I see something on YouTube where someone, and I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. You know, I'll watch 2-3 other YouTube videos just to make sure they're onto something. And then I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Verify it. Okay.
I just like to fix things. So I'm a continuous tinker.
Okay. Yep.
But not just blindly. You know, I actually like to have some research behind it and everything else. But yeah, painting, drywall work.
Ooh.
I don't like those things.
Ooh, yeah. I hear you on that one. I hear you on that. We got to know drywall work at the original house we had. Yeah. That's a fun one.
I'll hire that out. I did work with my dad. We finished off our basement in our home when I was younger.
Dust everywhere.
And, yeah, you have dust for weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks on end.
Makes your house smell a little different too.
Yeah. Drywall, it wasn't something I like to do. And painting, I've done lots of it because, you know, you have a wife that they want something done. It's all of a sudden it's, you know, it's not, let's wait 3 weeks. Let's just do it. Mm-hmm. And I like to do things quickly, and painting is not something you should do fast.
No,
I don't think.
No, it's not
accurate.
Yes, it does. Or you're going to be doing it again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Know that one all too well. So real quick, we're going to check the stream. Any questions for our home inspector here today? That's as expected. That's all right. We're trying to test out the whole live stream thing, so it's not like, you know, it's like the second one we've actually even live streamed. So that's just fine. So Brandon, what home inspections, real estate, your business, what's what gets you out on this one? What's one thing that you were looking to do, you're excited about, you're looking forward to in 2024?
Really just to continued financial success in my business. Growth is not something that I really am looking for in my business. I've considered it, but so maybe those opportunities, you know, if the right people talk to me and everything else, maybe growing my business. But I'm pretty content being a one owner operator. You know, having all the employees I've had in the past and everything else just sometimes gives you a bad taste in your mouth. And it's nice to just kind of sit back and work with yourself. But, you know, meeting some new people, new opportunities. I definitely this year want to get more involved in helping other business owners start their own businesses. I've helped became a good friend, you know, start one of his businesses. I won't take much credit, but I love
sewer scopes.
Yeah, I love having that conversation with those folks. Being in business or running large corporation, industrial facilities for as long as I did, I got heavily involved in helping people attain their goals, whether it's moving from that one position up into management, et cetera. So I really get a lot of enjoyment out of that. So hopefully those opportunities will come where some people need some guidance, and hopefully I can give some good information to them. But really just hope to help you out, meet your goals, continue on. Hopefully we have good success there, but no, it's should be a good 2024. Market looks pretty good, at least from what I'm watching on your podcast.
Lots of crazy headlines. Oh my gosh, we're getting hit all over the head. Football right now is just nuts. Oh man, please slow down. Just too much.
Yeah,
we'll see. So Brandon, I appreciate it. If I wanted to use you and didn't want to work with Matt because he's a doofus, and who would clearly put me in touch with you himself because his service is fantastic. But if I didn't want to use Matt or didn't want to use a realtor, but I just wanted to call you to inspect a home or have a pre-inspection. We didn't even talk about pre-listing inspections, but we'll harp on that at another time.
You should have pre-listing inspections.
We should always have pre-listing inspections, and you can actually watch some of my YouTube shorts for why you should have a pre-listing inspection. We'll figure out how to link that later. But Brandon, how do I reach you? How do I get in contact with you?
You can obviously go through the internet at bhinspectedhome.com, or you can call me at 762-585-5304. You can obviously reach out to Matt.
That's right.
He knows how to reach me. I do have a Facebook page as well.
You have an Instagram page. I'm not sure if you're aware.
Yeah, I do. Sorry. It's out there somewhere.
I tag it a lot. I don't think you ever monitor it.
Well, we don't even want to go there. I've gone on there and I see where you've tagged me and things, and I click on this and that, and for some reason it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. I would usually think that I'm pretty good at that kind of stuff, but obviously I'm not. I have a TikTok page, but I got that because I wanted to watch another video that I did with another realtor, and I don't know if I've ever looked at it again.
We're good. Brandon, appreciate it, buddy.
Yep.
As always, thank you very much, and that's a wrap. Listeners, thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And this has been another episode of the Market Shakers Podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe on the platform of your choice, and do not forget to leave us a 5-star review. Once again, we'd like to thank all of our guests, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.